Welcome to another deep dive. This time around, we're tackling a subject that I think is pretty universal for all parents out there.
Definitely a popular one.
Yeah. Baby sleep.
Oh, yeah.
Getting those little ones to sleep soundly through the night.
It can be a challenge for sure.
Absolutely. And I'm really excited to dive into the guides that you sent over. It's packed with so much information on
Yeah, there's a lot in there.
There is, about getting your little one to sleep soundly through the night. And I thought maybe we could start by, it kicks off with this infant sleep 101 section.
Yeah.
And I have to admit, even I was a little bit surprised by how much sleep babies actually need.
Yeah.
We're not just talking a few extra naps here and there. This is like serious sleep.
It's a lot of sleep.
14 to 17 hours for newborns.
Yeah, they really do.
And even as they get a bit older, we're talking 12 to 15 hours.
It's remarkable.
And that includes naps.
Yeah.
It's a lot of sleep.
Yeah.
And it makes you wonder, why do those tiny humans need so much shut-eye?
Well, the guide actually goes into that a little bit and the science behind it. It turns out it's not just about, them being cute and sleepy. It's about their brain development, physical growth, building a strong immune system, and even emotional regulation. All those things are tied into how much sleep they get.
So if a baby consistently misses out on that crucial sleep, are we talking about potential long-term consequences?
Well, there's been research on this, and studies have shown that, chronic sleep deprivation in infants can actually have lasting impacts on, it can affect their cognitive development, attention span, even their emotional well-being later in life.
Wow.
So it really underscores just how important sleep is during those early years.
That's definitely food for thought.
Yeah.
It's not just about, getting through the day. We're setting them up for success way down the road.
Right, exactly.
But it's so hard. I know they sleep a lot, but I just don't understand. It seems like they wake up every hour.
Well, and this is where the guide delves into that. It's about those sleep cycles. Unlike adults who have roughly 90-minute cycles, babies operate on much shorter ones, like 50 to 60 minutes.
So they're cycling through these sleep stages way faster than we are.
Precisely.
And within those shorter cycles, we've all heard of REM and non-REM sleep. They have that too, right?
They do. They experience different types of sleep within those cycles.
I've always associated REM sleep with dreaming. Does that mean babies are dreaming more?
It's fascinating, isn't it? While we can't know for sure what's going on in their little dream worlds, research suggests that REM sleep is crucial for brain development, especially in infants. It plays a key role in memory consolidation, neural connections. They do spend a proportionally larger amount of time in REM sleep compared to us.
So even though it seems like they're waking up more often, they're actually doing a lot of work during those phases.
They are.
Interesting. And then eventually their sleep cycles lengthen.
Exactly. And they transition more smoothly between stages as they get older.
Okay, so there's hope for longer stretches.
There is, eventually.
But until then, how do we navigate those frequent wakings?
Well, that's where the guide's emphasis on routine comes in.
Yeah.
It's like setting their internal clock, helping them understand when it's time to wind down and when it's time to wake up. That predictability.
But my days are so unpredictable, and nap times, they just go out the window sometimes. Yeah. Does it really have to be that rigid?
Well, think of it this way. Babies thrive on predictability. When they have a consistent schedule, their bodies naturally start producing those sleep hormones like melatonin at the right time.
Okay.
Which makes it easier to fall asleep and stay asleep.
So it's like we're training their body to recognize those cues.
Exactly. And the guide has some great examples. Think warm baths, gentle massages, reading a book, or singing a lullaby, those kinds of things.
I've tried the warm bath, and sometimes it seems to energize my baby more than relax him.
Yeah, you're not alone.
Really?
A warm bath can be soothing for a lot of babies, but sometimes it can have the opposite effect. It really depends on the individual baby's temperament. Some find the warmth and sensations stimulating rather than calming. The key is to observe your baby's cues and adjust accordingly. There's no one-size-fits-all.
So it's about finding what works for your baby, not just following some set in stone routine.
Exactly.
Okay.
And consistency is key. So that means sticking to the schedule as much as possible, even on weekends.
Oh, even on weekends.
Even on weekends. And don't forget about those naps.
Right.
Establishing consistent nap times can make a huge difference in your baby's overall sleep quality.
It's all starting to make sense.
You're good.
So we've got the routine. What about the sleep environment? The guide talks about creating the perfect sleep environment.
Oh, it's amazing how much the environment can impact a baby's sleep.
Really?
The guide recommends keeping the room cool, ideally between 68 and 72 degrees. Darkness is key too, so blackout curtains are a must.
So we're talking like cave-like darkness.
Well, a dim nightlight can be helpful for those middle-of-the-night check-ins, but you want to avoid anything too bright that might stimulate them.
Right. Makes sense.
What about sound? Have you tried white noise?
I've heard of it. I worry about it being too loud.
That's a common concern. The idea is to create a consistent, soothing sound that can block out other noises that might wake a light sleeping baby.
So it's not about silence, it's about like
Yeah,
a consistent sound.
exactly.
Okay. And I'm assuming safe sleep guidelines are still important?
Of course, always. Always placing your baby on their back to sleep, using a firm mattress with a fitted sheet, and keeping the crib free of any loose blankets, pillows, or stuffed animals.
Safety first.
Always, always.
Okay, I know we're just scratching the surface here, but I'm already feeling a little bit more confident
Yeah, I'm glad.
about tackling, these sleep challenges.
Yeah.
But I think we'll save the sleep training methods for another time
Sounds like a plan.
because I know that can be a whole,
Yeah, we can dive into those details later.
a whole other conversation.
For sure. When you mentioned feeling more confident, it reminded me of a part in the guide. It talks about how knowledge is power when it comes to baby sleep.
Yeah.
The more we understand about why they sleep the way they do, the better equipped we are to make informed decisions.
It's so true. It's easy to get overwhelmed with all the conflicting advice out there.
Right.
And this has already helped me see things from a different perspective.
Good. I'm glad.
So speaking of choices, what about this sleep training section?
Yeah.
I know this can be a sensitive topic.
It is for many parents.
Yeah.
For sure.
I'll admit, before this, I was a bit intimidated by the whole sleep training thing.
Yeah.
There's so many different methods, and it's hard to know where to begin.
It is. It can be overwhelming.
But the guide did a good job of breaking it down,
It does.
and it felt very approachable and non-judgmental.
Right. Yeah. And one thing that stood out to me was the emphasis on choosing a method that aligns with, your parenting philosophy and your baby's temperament.
Right.
There's no one-size-fits-all approach. And what works for one family might not work for another.
Yeah, for sure.
And it takes time, patience, and consistency.
Yeah.
There will be bumps along the way, but that's okay.
Right.
It's a journey, not a destination.
Speaking of bumps in the road, what about these troubleshooting tips?
Yeah.
I mean, it covers a wide range of challenges from night wakings to short naps to even separation anxiety.
Absolutely. It really does cover a
This
lot.
section on night wakings. I mean, I think every parent
Oh, for sure.
has those middle of the night wake up calls.
Yeah.
They're normal,
They are.
but exhausting.
Yes, very much so. I remember those days.
Oh, I'm sure.
But the guide encourages parents to just check the basics first.
The basics.
Yeah, is the baby hungry? Does the diaper need changing? Are they too hot or too cold?
Right.
Sometimes the simplest solution is the right one.
I think it's so easy to overthink things when you're sleep deprived.
It is, absolutely.
Just those basic needs.
Right. And if those needs are met and they're still waking up, take a look at the bigger picture.
Okay.
Are they getting enough daytime sleep?
Ah.
Is the sleep environment good? Conducive to restful sleep?
It's not just about bedtime. It's about creating good habits throughout the whole day.
Precisely.
And speaking of daytime habits, the guide also talks about feeding and sleep.
Yeah.
Is it true that a well-fed baby sleeps better?
It really does make sense. When babies are well nourished, their bodies are better able to relax and fall asleep.
Okay.
The guide provides some really helpful age-based feeding guidelines
Okay, yeah.
to ensure your baby is getting the right amount of nourishment.
That's helpful.
Yeah.
But I've also heard that, overfeeding before bed can disrupt sleep. Is that true?
It is, yeah. While it's important to make sure they're getting enough to eat, overfeeding can lead to discomfort and make it harder for them to settle.
Okay.
It's all about that
A
balance.
delicate balance.
Exactly.
This brings me to something that actually surprised me. Daytime activities influence nighttime sleep.
I know, it's fascinating, isn't it?
It's not just about the hour or two before bed. It's
No.
like the whole day.
It's about creating a balanced day with, stimulating activities and restful moments.
Sleep isn't just this isolated event.
Right.
It's about the whole day.
It's connected to everything else that happens.
Exactly. And the guide recommends daylight exposure, which helps regulate their circadian rhythm.
Right, that internal clock.
So those morning walks in the stroller, they're doing more than just getting fresh air.
They are. They're actually helping to set that internal clock.
Wow.
And then active play, tummy time, interactive games, Anything that gets them moving.
So we're trying to like tire them out.
Well, it's not just about wearing them down.
Okay.
It's about providing them with opportunities to explore and learn, develop their motor skills.
So it's not just physical, it's developmental.
Exactly. And ultimately, it all contributes to better sleep.
It all comes full circle.
It does.
Speaking of cycles, the guide also talks about sleep regressions.
Yes.
Sleep regression.
Yes, the dreaded sleep regressions.
I've heard horror stories.
Oh, yeah. But the guide does a good job of demystifying them.
Okay.
It explains that these temporary disruptions are often linked to developmental leaps.
So it's not a bad thing. It's a sign that their brains are working.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It even highlights some of the most common ages for these regressions: 4 months, 8 months, and 18 months.
Okay, so knowing when to expect them could be helpful.
It can be, it can be.
How do we navigate these regressions, though?
Well, the guide offers some advice.
Yeah.
First and foremost, stick to your established routines.
Okay.
Consistency is key.
So even though it feels like everything's falling apart,
Yeah.
we got to keep it going.
You got to maintain that structure, yeah.
And it also says, don't introduce new sleep habits.
Yeah, I know it might be tempting to resort to quick fixes, but they often backfire in the long run.
So we're staying the course,
Exactly.
trusting that things will eventually go back to normal.
Right.
Okay. Let's talk about the myth-busting section.
Okay.
I feel like baby sleep is surrounded by so many myths and old wives' tales.
It is. But the guide does a good job of separating fact from fiction.
Okay, what's the first one?
The idea that keeping your baby awake longer during the day will make them sleep better at night.
I've heard that one.
Have you really?
Wouldn't a tired baby just sleep better?
You would think so, right?
Yeah.
But the guide explains that overtired babies actually have a harder time falling and staying asleep.
So it's the opposite.
It is. When babies are overtired, their bodies release those stress hormones like cortisol, which can actually make it harder for them to settle down.
So it's like this vicious cycle.
It is.
Okay, myth bust.
Myth busted. What about the one that says all babies should be sleeping through the night by 3 months old?
Oh, yes. I've heard that one. Put a lot of pressure on parents.
So much pressure.
Yeah.
But the guide emphasizes that sleep patterns vary greatly from baby to baby, and many babies continue to need those nighttime feedings well beyond the 3-month mark.
Okay, that is reassuring. Takes the pressure off a bit.
Yes, it does.
I know the guide also addresses those times when you've tried everything and you're still struggling.
It does, yeah.
When should a parent consider calling in, the professionals?
Well, the guide lists a few red flags,
Yeah.
things like loud snoring or any breathing difficulties during sleep,
Okay.
sleep issues that are impacting their growth or development,
Oh.
or just feeling overwhelmed and unsure of what to do next.
Right.
Those are all signs that maybe it's time to reach out for a little extra help.
It's okay to ask for help.
Absolutely. There's no shame in it.
There are resources available.
There are, yeah?
We're not alone in this.
We are not.
This guide is so comprehensive.
It is, isn't it?
It's packed with information.
Yeah.
It's like a roadmap.
It is. For navigating this world of baby sleep.
I feel much more equipped to tackle these challenges.
Good, I'm glad.
And I want to dive in even more.
Me too.
As we wrap up this deep dive,
Yeah.
I'm curious.
Yeah.
What stood out to you
Oh, that's a good question.
as particularly insightful
Yeah.
or maybe even surprising from this guide?
Honestly, so much of it was helpful,
Okay.
but if I had to pick one thing,
Yeah.
it would be just the debunking of that myth
Okay.
that all babies should be sleeping through the night by 3 months.
Right.
It's such a relief to know there's no
Yeah.
magical cutoff point and that
Yeah.
every baby develops at their own pace.
Oh, for sure. That myth has caused so much unnecessary stress for parents,
I know.
myself included.
Yeah,
And it ties back to what we were saying about
Yeah.
trusting your instincts and finding what works best for your baby.
absolutely.
What about you? Anything stand out to you?
I was really intrigued by the emphasis on the link between daytime activities and nighttime sleep.
Oh, yeah. That was a big one.
It makes you realize that sleep isn't just about, what happens in the crib.
It's influenced by everything that happens throughout the day.
That was a real aha moment for me. I'd been so focused on the bedtime routine,
Yeah,
but I hadn't really considered how much daytime plays a role.
it really does.
I'm definitely going to be more intentional about daylight and active play.
Yeah, it's a game changer, isn't it?
It is. As we wrap up, one final question.
Okay.
Now that you've absorbed all of this, what's one small step a parent can take to improve their baby's sleep?
I think even just observing your baby's sleep cues, more closely.
Okay.
Or just like tweaking the bedtime routine a little bit to be more calming,
Yeah.
and consistent.
Those little things can make a big difference.
They really can.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive.
It was my pleasure.
It's been a fascinating exploration into the world of baby sleep. We've covered so much from those sleep cycles and routines to creating the perfect sleep environment and debunking those common myths. And remember, you're not alone on this journey. We're all in this together, navigating the ups and downs of baby sleep one yawn at a time. Sweet dreams, everyone.